All right, guys. Well, let me welcome you. Let me welcome you to another daily edition of Stock Market Mutterings, trade review and recap for October 30th. Let me see. What is it I want to say about the market? How do I want to define this? That's a tough one. But you stick around, I'm sure I'll come up with something. Now, for us, it was a red day. Not too bad of a red day, but that's my third this month. So all in all, not too bad. I guess the good thing is I can't have any more than 4 because there's only 1 day left in this month. And before I really get started with my rant and talking about this whole market, if you need help, this market's confusing you, because trust me, it confuses a lot of people, and you need help, visit thelincolnlist.com, click on the Trade Room tab, and you can start trading with us right away. So the reason I ended up red is pretty much something that I did yesterday, and we'll get into that. I think what I want to go back here and talk about first, before I go into the positions that were up on your screen, is let me talk about this market, because you don't know what you're going to get, man, do you? I mean, maybe it just takes off and goes up 1,000. Maybe it goes down 1,000. Maybe it goes up 1,000 and then back down 1,000. Who in the hell knows? I mean, really, who knows? It's just touch and go. I mean, 20, 30 minutes, you're ramping up like crazy. Then the next 30 minutes, you're going down like crazy. It's just been that way over the last couple of weeks. So you really got to be particular about where you enter your trades, pick and choosing your areas, and really using stops. So let's talk about that market today, because it started out a lot like yesterday, where you kind of had a gap up. But yesterday, the gap up just gets sold right away. There's like virtually no rally whatsoever. And it feels like it's going to be a repeat of that again today. Because you started here early, if you look at the upper chart in pre-market, you start rolling over and it starts taking out some areas of support. Now, where it closed at the closing price was roughly about 262 and some change, and it goes right down into it. Now, when it goes down into it, right before the market opens, this thing starts getting a head of steam here, and it just takes off. Now, there definitely, these candles were dancing around a little bit in the first 10, 15 minutes, but you know, it really started going vert. Now, if you follow these, I have just been pretty adamant about saying, look, there's no way in hell I'm chasing these greens. Absolutely no way in hell am I going to buy into this kind of stuff. I need to see a pattern. I need to see some building. I need to see something like that. Otherwise, I'm a short seller. And then, you know, later on, this thing rolls over. We'll talk about that. But so when this thing's going up, I already had a position in this BA that I held overnight towards the close. And once it started getting weak right here, because you saw how the market was. Here's the market. It's just launching right off as soon as it opens. It's just going vert. And there's a bunch of other stocks going vert too. And then I'm looking at this BA position that I have, and it's like you give me one green candle, and then you start fading out. And I'm like, oh, man, you're a dog. I mean, that's dirty, right? I mean, guys, you hate that. We all hate that. Right? I'm not going to say just because I've been doing this forever that I'm not entitled to hate such a move. It sucks when the market's ripping and you long something and it's just sitting there like it's like lollygagging, right? This is what this thing was doing. So I'm like, I'm out. And the only reason I'm itchy on that trigger finger as well is because, I mean, look what happened yesterday. It didn't bounce yesterday, and then it just gets smoked from 345 to 330. I'm like, I'm not going to watch this thing go down $15. I got to take the high road here, so I get out. And then it starts to flag. If you look here, I'm going to see if I can. Let me make this chart just a little bit bigger. It starts to flag a little bit as the rest of the markets is still continuing to lift. So I'm like, all right, look, if it goes back through high a day, I'll try it again, but I'll have to lower the position size this time around. And I did that. And, well, I should have went heavier, right? We always say that, don't we? We're always too light on our winners, too heavy on our losers. But this turned out to actually be like a $5 winner. Now, it didn't make me green on the trade because I had double the size here, back here that I took the loss on, but it reduced it down a little bit, and it wasn't that bad. I thought maybe about re-entering or flipping it short, but at this point, I was just trying to figure out, okay, let's see where the market's going to settle in here. Now, while this was happening, I did the same thing I did yesterday, which was, while things were going up, I'm like, show me something that's still green. As the market started to pull back, you'll see you had this fade come in a little bit later. Let me scoot this over. After this, right here, you start to get a fade, a really, really strong fade in the markets. And it looks like, all right, they're going to sell this thing off. We're going back red. I mean, look how sharp that is. That's like a ramp up and a ramp right back down. So I'm just like, what's up? Show me something that's up. And I end up with OLED. Yesterday it was ADSK that was on my watch list. It just happened to be up. And then this one was OLED. Now this turned out to be a pretty nice little trade. Not huge. I went in with a starter position, but I caught it at a good price and I was able to cover it. Later on, I go right back into it and do the same thing over again. Now, let me kind of back up before that because that trade happened much later in the day. So at this point, I've got one long, I've got one short. I got that BA, which I was kind of like, I felt obligated to take. And then I have this OLED, which turned out to be pretty good. Now I did go to my favorite stock of the month club, as you already know, which is King Baba, and I tried a little bit of Baba. Now I was a little bit late going into Baba, but everything was collapsing, and I'm like, okay, I'll give it a try. Volatility is a little bit lower on this compared to something like NVDA or Netflix, and you know, once I started getting those short later on, like especially with the OLED trade there, the second one, I ended up thinking that with all of these rejections towards the highs, because I held some of this stuff through the bounces. So when we come back and you look at, like, let's see, let me pull back up the SPY chart here. When you're going through this and it's trying to re-ramp the high and then it's pulling and it's trying to re-ramp the high, I'm trying to stay short through this. There was a couple of times on these trades, OLED, there was a Netflix short in there, and there was another Baba trade that I went in a second time. These things all had gains of about $1 on them at one point, $1 extra on them. But I kept thinking, all right, you know, with this action and this constant rejection, and when you're seeing it in real time, when I say rejection, it's like it just got up in the top and it just got body slammed. You can see it. The market rips here. You throw up a big candle, you tap up to the previous highs, and it just follows it up with a big old wipeout. Then it tries to remount, comes back up, and then it just gets washed out. So I'm like, all right, this market's going to go red, which it did, and the rest of the stuff is just going to fold over. So I don't want my dollar right now. I'm going to try to go for, you know, seeing OLED go down $5, seeing Baba go down $3 or $4 more dollars from where it was at. And they started that way. Like you go back and you look at this OLED, we got back in here a second time on this high day ramp, and they started going down there. So we had some pretty good entries, but then they just stopped. And they just stopped. And all of a sudden, like right there towards the end of the day, the market just says, look, I've had enough. Because it was really kind of chopping around, and then you get a wipeout. Chopping around, and then you get a wipeout. And then right there at the end of the day, it's like, looky me. I want to be a superstar. I want to have my name in the paper. Look at me run. And off she went. So really, in this period of time here, through the midday, which was when I was holding most of these positions, it was freaking choppy. It was still, market was going down more than it was going up, but it was really, really choppy. And the stuff was just, you really kind of lose your edge. The reason I want to bring this up is because I know there's a lot of struggling traders, new traders out there, aspiring traders, however you want to classify yourself. But there will come periods of time where nobody has an edge. You just don't have it. Well, maybe somebody has an edge in this, but your strategy will reach a period of time where, look, I don't have an edge right now. And you can either force a trade and try to make something happen, or you can just wait this thing out because it will come back around again. You know, the market will play back into your hands. So there's these days that you have premium on the table where the cards are lined up, the stars are lined up, let me say, and things are working well for you. And those are the days you want to be aggressive. When you get stuck in this midday chop and lunch, it's really, to me, it's always been more of a challenge to trade through those hours than it is the first hour and the last hour of the day, because you're just getting all kinds of back and forth action. And it's easy, very easy, especially with this type of volatility in this market, for you to just get chewed to pieces. It's real easy like that, especially with these ranges. So then the market just goes up, and at that point I'm like, I'm not going to, I'm not buying it. So it's getting aggressive. I don't want to short it either. It's a little too late for that. Let's just take our shots tomorrow and see where we stand. And sometimes that's what you have to do. So it was a small loss day, still positive for the week. And like I said, that's the third losing day of the month. So it's okay. It's all right. We're going to be just fine. Now, as we move on here, the first question again is going to be, hey, is this thing going to stick? I don't know. Why would I know? I mean, it's not like it's the first time it happened. So if we kind of go back here, just try to put yourself a dose of reality here. And then look around, see what's happening. The charts don't lie to you, right? Sometimes you lie to the charts and you convince yourself they're lying to you. But just look at what's happened. We got to go back here. After this initial flush started, we go back to the 15th. You had a really big bullish day. It was melty that day, I remember. It tried to follow up the second day, and then it just sells off on the third day of that rally. So this thing can't even last 2 days. That's the best that you have seen from this market since this whole sell-off started at the very beginning of the month. Because you go down 3 or 4 more days, here you have a very strong, big green day here. It was followed up by more panic selling, more flushing. Then the next day after that, a big green day. Next day after that, more selling, and then here you have this green day. So you're basically like almost one on and one off. Big green day takes it all out the next day. Big green day takes it all out the next day, except for the last 2 days, Friday and Monday were red days. But you can see here it's just retracing. So the key here in all of this, if you're asking yourself where there's going to be a rally or how do you know when you're going to see a rally, wouldn't 2 days? I mean, is that a lot to ask if you're bullish? Is 2 days? Can you give me 2 green days in a row without getting smoked to the downside? Can you do that? How about just trying that at first? That would be your sign. I'm not so sure about the bounce here. If this turns out to be a short-term low, that means the market just kind of bounced off of the thirds. Was that May 3rd? May 3rd lows. So I still think we're going to go back down here lower. Like I said, you're going to get these rallies, these big, strong rallies in bear markets. In fact, bear market rallies are far more stronger than rallies in bull markets, if that makes sense. I know that wasn't the most elegant way to put a quote, but what I was basically saying, if I confused you completely, is that the rallies in these bear markets are stronger range-wise than what they normally are in bull markets. So these things can be violent. So even though it feels that after those flushes, panic selling, and more stuff wants to go lower, you still have to respect if you're short, because these things can get out of control fast if you get a poopy entry. I mean, you get down in here and you start shorting Netflix at 276, and then by the end of the day it just cranks up to 288. I mean, that's $10 right there per share in a relatively short period of time. So, you have to respect both. And I think that's where the challenges lie in this market, is that you have to respect both the stops on your longs and the stops on your shorts. You should always respect your stops. But in this case, if these things start rolling over and you're like, okay, well, I'll add. Sometimes it could wash out $10 before it stops going down again. Same way when it starts going up. Maybe it just stretches out $10. And sometimes you have to move away from these higher beta stocks if you're trading them, or the stocks that you have been trading. Maybe the risk appetite's too much, and you got to move down to maybe a cheaper stock or one that isn't moving so quickly. That way you personally don't get shaken out. Know thyself, man. Know thyself. That's always a way. Now, tomorrow, we're going to see how this plays out, because the last time I checked, we had Facebook earnings. I don't know if this is going to turn out to be like Amazon or what we're going to get from this. But it's not bad here, I guess. Starts out with a flush, picks back up with a buy. This stock's been in the hole here big time. So you're probably going to need a little time to digest this. Maybe this bigger name in the market here can press things higher for a second day. If we're going to see that, it will be important here for the markets to work their way back up. Let's see. You're going to have to get back up into Friday's, I don't know if this is Friday's high. I think this is Friday's high right here, 270. Maybe you get a start. Maybe if we do get aggressive in the morning, maybe you see 270. If you actually push through 270, and it's able to hold that, then you might start to see a little bit of a grind back up to 275 in the coming days. We're still going to have to see, and then we're going to have to see how this tech plays out. Again, you can sit here and look at a bunch of charts, come up with 1,000 different ideas, but the market still has to open tomorrow, and anything can happen at that point, and you're just going to have to adapt and adjust quickly. And if that's something that you're struggling with, and you need help, you know where I'm at. LincolnList.com, top of the page. Click the Trade Room tab and start trading with us. I want to thank you for watching this Market Mutterings. If you got hints, tips, suggestions, critiquing, you just want to do whatever, send me an email, support@thelincolnlist.com. Trade well, guys. I will chat with everyone tomorrow, and take care.